Hello, my beautiful YouTube family. I'm so happy to be back with you with another slower flow. This class we are going to be working with a mix of slow strength and slow stretch. So we've got a couple of asanas where you may feel a little bit more intensity, a little bit more engagement, and there'll be other asanas where we just completely let go and just sink into it. With that being said, let's head on to our backs. And if I haven't met you before, my name is Sarah. Come on down. Maybe having the knees bent here feels good. Maybe having the legs extended out more in a Shavasana shape feels good. And a concept that I'd love to bring in is one of Pratyahara, and this is our fifth part of the 8 limbs of yoga. So it's a very significant part of our yoga practice, and it translates as sense withdrawal. And when we get into a flow and when we find focus, which comes with our yoga practice, and generally asana and pranayama are our movement of breath, allows us to cultivate that state of flow and concentration, then our senses, instead of attaching onto more external things, they start to drop away and withdraw, and we find a more inward focus. And you may recall certain situations where you've been in such a focused state that you don't notice something that's going on right next to you. And that's Pratyahara. Let's start to just notice the different senses around us. So is there anything that you can hear, both kind of in your closer environment, maybe even coming from this video? And there may be some sounds a little bit further away. Are there any smells that are apparent right now? Any certain tastes? What is the fabric of your clothes like on your skin? What's the temperature of the air around you? Is it cold? Is it warmer? Is it humid? Is it quite dry? And of course, because our eyes are closed, we can't really see anything. But maybe you can imagine what is in your environment, what you would see if you opened your eyes. And then start to bring some focus onto the breath. So maybe even listening to the breath, feeling the temperature of the air as you exhale through the nose. What does it feel like for touch along your skin, the lips? And we'll start to move very soon, but with our asanas, we just want to be very aware of if our senses start to perk up again. So if you notice your drishti, your eye gaze floating around, that's a good sign that our mind isn't as focused. Maybe you're listening to things around you that's not kind of on your mat or in this video. or your breath. Let's take one more big breath in. Exhale. Maybe you take the hands out a little bit wider. Bring the knees up over your hips. Take a big breath in. As you exhale, let's draw the knees over towards the right. Inhale, come back through center. As you exhale, draw the knees over towards the left. Inhale, come through center. Exhale, knees to the right. Try to keep the left shoulder down. Inhale, come through center. Exhale towards the left. You have the option to lengthen your legs here. That's going to make it a little bit more challenging for the core. Exhale. You probably won't touch all the way down to the ground to keep the shoulder down. Inhale, using the strength of the core to lift. Exhale to the left. Let's try it one more time each side. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, so pressing through the right hand to lift up a bit. Exhale. Can you extend your legs towards the front of your mat? Flex your feet so they're not directly towards the ground, they're more on a 45-degree angle here. Hands come by the sides. I'm going to hold here for a few more breaths, keeping the lower back close to the ground. You can always bend your knees here if you notice your lower back coming off the ground. Take 2 more breaths. You might even start to practice your Ujjayi pranayama, so the constriction of the back of the throat. And then when you're ready, draw the knees towards the chest, start to lift the nose up in the direction of the knees. Hug your hands around the shins, giving yourself a little squeeze, a little hug, maybe even close down the eyes. If it feels good, a little shift from side to side. And then when you're ready, let's grab the backs of the legs. We're going to roll ourselves up into a Uttanasana, a forward fold. So bring your feet about hip width distance, maybe even a little bit wider to begin with. Can you soften the head down, tuck the chin in, bend the legs, maybe even have the hands around the back of the thighs or the calves to pull you in a bit more. Maybe you find more of a ragdoll, clasping opposite elbows with the hands. So it's that Ujjayi pranayama, the constriction of the back of the throat, which allows us to make a sound, and that is one of the tools we can use to help draw the senses a little bit more into the present moment. Take 1 more breath here. Now you can absolutely stay exactly where you are, or if your hands meet the ground, see if you can walk your hands forward a little bit more while keeping the depth of your upper body here. This is our elephant pose, which is our Gajasana. Tuck the chin in, draw the shoulders down, maybe even try to lengthen the legs a little bit more. Take a big breath in. Exhale. Hands walk towards the shins. Can you breathe in and lift yourself halfway? We're going to hold here for a few breaths. Draw the shoulders down the spine. Hips are in line with the shoulders here. Ribs are tucked in slightly so we're not overarching through our back, engaging through the core. 2 more breaths. Big breath in. Exhale. Our drishti is straight down from our head, or maybe even a little bit further forward. Then bring the hands towards the ground. We're going to step our right foot back. Lower the right knee down towards the ground. You can have the hands down onto the ground, or if you want a little bit more, see if you can bring your hands up towards your thighs and start to press down on the left thigh, dropping the hips towards the front heel. So you might feel this through the right hip flexor, maybe through the spine, maybe through the left leg here. Take 1 more big breath in. Exhale, find a little bit more depth. Sliding the shoulders down. And then when you're ready, hands come to the ground. We're going to step our left foot back towards the back of the mat. Inhale, shift the weight forward into your kneeling plank. Exhale, bend the elbows, come down onto the belly. Inhale, baby Bhujangasana. So light press through the hands, lifting the chest just off the ground, shoulders pulled back, squeezing the glutes, elbows come in. Let's take one more breath here. Breathing in, lifting a little bit more. Exhale, drawing the shoulders back. When you're ready, press up onto the knees. Let's tuck onto the toes, lift the hips up and back. Ardha Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Finding the length of the upper body here, bending the knees as much as you need to kind of tip the pelvis forward to lengthen the spine. Pressing all of the 5 fingers and knuckles and the palm into the ground. Drawing the shoulders up the spine. Let's use our next breath in to walk up towards the top of the mat. Exhale, feet hip width distance are a little bit wider, Uttanasana, forward fold. We're going to try that sequence again. So it's pretty slow. Take the hands out forward, maybe you're on fingertips, maybe the palms reach down, breathe in, exhale. So it's quite a challenging pose. We want to keep the hips lifting up towards the spine, drawing the shoulders up towards the hips as well. We keep trying to spread the shoulder blades apart. Inhale, bring the hands towards the shins, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, shoulders roll down. Now you can stay here. If you wanted a little bit more, see if you can start to reach the hands over your head, finding a really long spine and arms. You can screw the feet towards the ground. You notice that the glutes have to fire up. Try to keep that neutral spine here, engage through the core. Big breath in. Exhale, hands come towards the ground. This time, left foot steps back. Drop the left knee towards the ground. Again, you can stay with the fingertips or the hands down, or maybe the hands walk up towards the thigh. You can bring that weight into the leg to drop down. Notice where your drishti, your eye gaze is at the moment. Are you looking around? Is your mind elsewhere? Then we can bring our focus to one point. Then we can allow ourselves to deepen our focus, deepen our attention in the present. Take a big breath in. Exhale, can you drop down a little bit more? Hands come to the ground. Breathe in as you set the right foot back. You're on your knees. Exhale. Chaturanga, come on down. Inhale, baby Bhujangasana, or option to lengthen a little bit more. Maybe you walk the hands a bit further forward in front of the body. So your elbows still might be tucked in. Shoulders pull back. If you wanted a bit more support, you could take your hands out to more of an extended cobra pose, Bhujangasana. Take a big breath in. And then as you exhale, roll yourself down towards the ground. Bring the hands by the ribs. Breathe in, press up onto the knees. Exhale, duck onto the toes. Lift your hips up and back. Downward facing dog. Take a big breath in here. As you exhale, drop the heels towards the ground. Press away with the upper body. Use your next breath and walk up towards the top of the mat. Exhale to fold. We're going to come into our main sequence today. So kind of using those poses as a way to start. Let's walk the hands out. Breathe in. Exhale, Gajasana. Tuck the chin in. Draw the shoulder blades as far away from them as you can. And if your hands don't quite meet the ground, that's okay. Maybe you just keep the hands on the ankles. Let's all bring the hands to the shins. Breathe in, lift halfway. Exhale, shoulders down. Again, stay here. Or see if you can lift the hands above your heads. Engage through the legs. Press the heels down. Try not to, make sure you're not locking out the knees here. Take a big breath in. Exhale. Use your next breath in. Sweep both hands high. I'm going to walk our feet out towards the edges of the mat. As you exhale, turn the toes out. Start to bend your knees. Malasana squat. But this time we're going to be a little bit more lifted. So rather than dropping down, let's stay up a bit more. So hips are roughly in line with the knees. The elbows might lightly touch the thighs. Draw the shoulders down. We're going to stay here for a couple of breaths. So make sure the knees are tracking out over the toes. We're not caving in. It's engaging through the glute medius. Going to take some shifts from side to side. So breathe in here. Connect with the breath. Exhale, transition the weight into the right foot. Maybe lift the left heel up slightly. Inhale, come through center. Exhale, other side, lifting up the right heel. One more time each side. Inhale. Exhale. Shifting to the right. Inhale through center. Whoo. Exhale. Hands come towards the ground. Let's step our right foot back. Plant the right heel down. So you're almost finding a warrior stance. We're going to reach our hands over towards the right corner, or maybe even off the right corner of the mat. Drop the hips down. Now you have the option here of bringing the right knee down for a little bit more support. If you wanted a bit more activeness, keep the right knee lifted. And if you wanted the challenge, you could walk your hands back a bit and then try lift them off the ground for a moment, or maybe a few moments. Drop the hips down a little bit more, take a big breath in, and then exhale. Walk the hands back in. Bring the right knee down. Again, hands can stay on the ground, or bring your hands up towards your left thigh. Breathe in. Exhale, send the hips forward a little bit more. Drop into the right hip. You can stay here, or you could take your hands behind your back, clasping the hands together. Big breath in. Exhale, can you pull the thumbs down the thigh? One last option, if you wanted it, is to bend the right knee, and then maybe the foot slides into the bind. This was quite strong. Take a big breath in. Exhale, where can you soften? Where is your attention at the moment? Hands come towards the ground. Walk the left foot out slightly. Feel free to stay on your hands. This might be a lot for the left leg, so feel free to just rock back and forth a little bit before we settle into another asana. Maybe the right elbow comes towards the ground. We're going to start to peel the left knee towards the left side of the mat, bringing the left inner arch of the foot off the ground. Now you can stay here. You could bring the left hand towards the left thigh and press away. If you wanted to find the bind with your foot, picking it up, you're more than welcome to. With every exhale, can you drop down a little bit more? Maybe you even close down the eyes in these longer asanas. Let's start to bring the hands back towards the ground. We're going to tuck onto the right toes. Start to lengthen both legs. Take a little hop forward of the right foot. Right heel plants down. Right hand might come towards the outside of the left shin as you breathe in and lift the left hand high. As you exhale, you might twist. The right hand can also come towards the ground if you can maintain a longer spine here. So Parivrita Utthita Trikonasana, our revolved Trikonasana pose. Can you be light with your right hand wherever it is? Take a big breath in, find a little bit more length. Exhale, try to twist that left shoulder back, right shoulder underneath. We're going to start to pivot towards the right. Keep the chest about parallel with the ground. Walk the left toes so that they're facing in, heels come out. Prasarita Padottanasana, but see if you can bring the hands either towards the ground in front of you, finding a halfway lift, or see if you can reach the hands out in front. So just like before, we're staying here. 2 more breaths. Lifting up through the belly, engaging through the core. And then when you're ready, just releasing down towards the ground, tucking the chin in. Maybe a little shift from side to side feels good here. Might even clasp the outsides of the feet to help pull you down a little bit more. Bring the hands towards the ground. Draw the heels in. Take a big breath in. Lift the arms up high. Maybe lift that eye gaze towards the thumbs. As you exhale, turn the knees out, bend the elbows, drop into the hips, Utkatasana Konasana, goddess pose. Just stay here for one more breath, breathing. Exhale. Let's look towards the top of the mat. Frame out the front foot, breathe in. Exhale, step the left foot back, Chaturanga, come down to the belly. Let's find our cobra position again, which we'll stay in for a couple of breaths. So breathe in, lifting high. So our thighs are on the ground for this one. Shoulders pull back. One final option that I'll offer if you're feeling pretty warm is to bend, let's say, the right leg and try pull it towards the head, the toes towards the head. You might even drop the head back slightly. It's quite a big back bend here. Take a big breath in. Exhale. Squeeze the glutes, shoulders down. And then when you're ready, come back to your belly, hands by the ribs. Breathe in as you press up onto the knees. Exhale, tuck into the toes. Now we're facing dog. And start to walk up to the top of the mat. We're going to try that sequence all over again. So feet about hip width distance, soften the knees, tuck the chin in. You could stay here. You could walk your hands out in front. Gajasana, you can imagine your hands being like the long trunk of an elephant. And the rest of your body being the support, the body. Take one more breath here. See if you can lift the hips up a little bit higher. As you exhale, pulling the chest down in the direction of the knees. Hands come to shins, breathe in, lift halfway. Engage through the core, option to stay here. Or as you exhale, reach out in front of you. This is a very, very strong asana if I hadn't told you already. One more breath. Breathe in, lift the arms. Take the feet out again, turn the toes out. Exhale, bend the knees, Malasana. This is our garland pose. Engage the core. Shoulders down. Again, maybe the elbows tap lightly onto the thighs so you know where you are. Let's start to shift to the left, breathe in. Exhale, maybe the right heel lifts. Inhale, come through center, shift to the right. Exhale. 2 more times, inhale. Can you keep the spine long here? Exhale. Connect with the breath. Through center, breathe in. Exhale. Hands come to the ground. Step the left foot back this time. Long step back. Drop the left heel so the toes are somewhat turning towards the left. Reach the hands out over the top left corner of your mat. Drop into your hips. Right knee is roughly stacked on top of the ankle. So again, you can be more active up on your foot. You can always drop the left knee down and make sure that the toes are pointing to the other side. Let's take 2 more breaths. Again, if you wanted the option, see if you can float the fingertips off the ground for a moment. And then let's bring the hands towards the ground. Drop the knee down. You can absolutely stay here or hands come to the thigh. Breathe in. Exhale, drop the shoulders down, stay here, maybe the hands come behind. Squeezing the palms together, trying to draw the thumbs and the knuckles down the leg, so it's more of a back bend shape. You could stay here. You could bend the left knee. Maybe the foot comes behind so that the ankle lands in between your hands. And just make sure that in this asana that you're not on the top of the knee. You want to be on the bottom of the thigh bone, the femur bone. It's going to protect your knee joint. When you're ready, frame out the front foot. We'll just shift forward and back slightly through our Ardha Hanumanasana, our half monkey pose, half splits. And then when you're ready, shift the weight back forward. Bring the right foot to the outside of the mat. See if you can start to peel the right knee out so that the inside of the right foot lifts. Maybe you stay here. Maybe the left elbow drops down. Again, maybe you stay here. Maybe the right hand presses out. You could find a bind with the right hand behind the left hip. It's whatever feels good here. And even though it is winter here, it is very hot practicing next to a fire. Let's take 2 more deep breaths here. Sliding the shoulders away from the ears, trying to find depth and release. Let's come back through center. Bring both of the hands down, tuck onto the left toes, slide the left foot in slightly, place the left heel so the toes are pointing out on a 45. Left hand again, maybe to the ground, maybe it comes up and over to the shin. Breathe in, sweep the right hand high. Exhale, find a twist. You might be up even a little bit higher. Oh, good balance. Again, our spine alignment, integrity is our main priority here. Take 1 more breath. Keep the spine parallel to the ground as you start to shift towards the left side of your mat. Toes turn in, heels come up. We won't lift up this time, but we will have the option to try and find our Shavasana, our headstand. And what you can do is keeping the feet wide, see if your forehead, I might actually practice the other way just so I don't fall back into the fire. So you bring the head down towards the ground. Maybe the elbows, we want to form an equilateral triangle so that the elbows are underneath the shoulders and that the palms of the hand make the top of the triangle. Clasp the hands together and just make sure that the bottom of the pinkies are split open so they're not stacked on top of each other. Crown of the head is going to come down. And you kind of want to scoop the pinky finger underneath the head. Okay, you can stay here. You lift the shoulders up the spine. You could come high onto your toes. Start shifting the weight into the head. Draw the elbows down towards the ground. And then you might lift off. Trying to get the feet towards hip width distance. Maybe you stay here. This straddle position is a little bit of an easier variation of our Shavasana. You feel a bit more balanced. If you felt comfortable enough to do so, engage through the core, start to lift the feet up towards the sky. Squeeze the glutes. And then when you're ready, just slowly make your way down. Oh, just a fun little transition there. Okay. As slow as you can, take a couple of breaths. Let's roll ourselves up to standing. Taking our time so that the blood can drop back down towards the lower half of the body. Turn the toes out. Breathe in, lift the hands. Of course, if you need more time after that headstand, please feel free to take it. Exhale, goddess, draw the shoulders down, elbows peel wide, ribs draw in slightly. Breathe in. As you exhale, look towards the front of the mat, hands come down, tuck onto left toes, step the right foot back on your breath in. Exhale, Chaturanga. Come down, untuck the toes. Let's find our Bhujangasana. Last time. Hands come by the ribs. Breathe in. Press yourself up as much as feels comfortable. Shoulders pull down. Again, you might stay here if you wanted to practice. Maybe left foot bends, left knee bends this time. Maybe you just keep the head forward. Maybe the head drops back a bit. Try not to force it. Keep pressing through the hands to find a little bit more extension through the spine. Make sure you can breathe. If you wanted to try both, there is that option as well. 1 more breath. And then when you're ready, just lie yourself down. Hands by ribs. Press yourself up into a Balasana, child's pose. Sending the hips back. Connecting the forehead towards the ground. letting the flow of breath drop you in a little bit more deeper into this moment, a little bit deeper. I'm going to slow things down. And just remember, if you notice that your mind, your senses are bouncing around, if they're attaching onto things externally that are both maybe close to you or far away from you, just notice. Awareness is that first stopping point. And then just encourage it to maybe anchor in your breath. Start to walk our hands back. Tuck onto the toes. We're going to find our deep malasana now. So make sure that the feet are a little bit wider than the hips. Drop down. Hands might connect through heart center. See if the knees can press out over the toes. Squeeze the glutes. Take a big breath in. Exhale, draw the shoulders back. You might stay here. We might find a twist on this side by taking the right hand towards the outside of the right mat. Come onto fingertips, shoulder drops down. You might stay here. Maybe the left knee presses out with the hand. You could stay here. You have the option with a bind. Right hand can come behind, touching towards the right hip. Maybe the left hand comes up and over. Maybe the right hand holds onto the left fingers. And if you do manage to find the spine, can you use it as a way to kind of pull that left shoulder back? When you're ready, come back through center. Let's try the other side. So drop the left shoulder down, extend the left fingertips out. Maybe right hand presses away. This may already feel quite intense, and I encourage you to breathe into it. If you want a little bit more, left hand can come behind, deep internal rotation of the hip joint. Maybe the right hand comes behind as well. It's okay if the heels aren't on the ground as well, by the way. There's the deep ankle flexion as well. Try press the left shoulder into the leg to open the right shoulder back. Take one more breath. Unwind. Let's bring the knees out in front of us. Option just to stay seated in a Vidrasana or kneeling position. If you wanted to try find an Ustrasana, which is our camel pose, a back bend which we've kind of been warming up into with our Bhujangasana, feel free to. Maybe you tuck onto the toes, make sure knees are hip width distance, squeeze the glutes. Hands might start behind the hips. You might come into more of a twisted Ustrasana. Right hand comes to one ankle. If you know that you're open and wanting to go into a double hand, you can do so. Let's just take our variation of choice. Trying to tuck the elbows back behind us or open through the front body. Squeezing the glutes and trying to let the action come from an upwards and then back rather than just forward and back. Let's take 2 more breaths. Well done. Let's unwind. Let's come down onto our backs. Roll yourself down. And we'll finish with one kind of last stretchy asana. Let's draw the right knee into the chest, extend the left leg out long. You could stay here. You could extend the right leg high. Maybe the hands come behind the shin, maybe the thigh. Thinking about drawing the toes back, the right toes back. Maybe you play with pointing them. Just notice where your body might want to fall into today. Although you're not exactly falling into this asana, it takes quite a bit of control. Big breath in. Exhale. I'm going to keep the right leg towards the sky. Different pose this time. We're going to roll over so that our left hip is on the ground. Left hand comes behind the head. Now our right knee might be bent here. Kind of making a little bit of a banana shape with our bottom of the body. Right knee might be bent towards the chest. You might try extend it up towards the sky. Maybe the peace fingers come around the big toe. Maybe the outside of the foot. I'm trying to square the hips towards the side as much as we can, keeping the foot trying to lift towards the ceiling rather than out in front of us. Take a big breath in. Exhale. Come back down to the ground. Let's try that all on the other side. So start with the left knee being bent. And then maybe you start to extend it out long as well. Tucking the chin in. Breathing in. Exhale, maybe think about pressing the heel away. Trying to get both shoulders down towards the ground. Take one more breath. And then start to open the hips towards the side, the right side this time. Left foot stays up, elbow bends, right hand comes to the bottom of the head. Just finding whatever hand variation works well for you today. Take one more big breath in. Exhale. Start to roll onto your back. Close down the eyes. Shavasana. We will be in this rest just for a couple of minutes. If you notice your focus start to drift away, encourage it to come back to the sounds of the breath, the senses that are directly kind of involving you, maybe the feeling of the mat against your skin, what it feels like to completely relax into the ground. If you've noticed your attention drifts, be kind. Gently encourage it to come back. Let's slowly start to transition towards the seat, so feel free to take any movements anything along the way, maybe some deeper breaths. Staying really connected in the present moment in this practice. Landing with our eyes closed, with an open heart. I thank you so much for practicing with me today, and just reminding ourselves that when we do make the time to find focus, find concentration, and to keep coming back, that is going to influence how we turn up in the rest of our day. We can be more present with the people and the things that involve us. So it's a win-win. Take a big breath in. Exhale, maybe bowing the head. Namaste. If you loved that class, let me know in the comments, maybe giving this a thumbs up. Any sort of engagement with this channel, with this video, is so beautiful, and it means that I can keep producing this free content for you all. And if you wanted to support me a little bit more directly, feel free to have a look at our Patreon account, which I'll link down below, where we post a couple of longer classes as well as some behind the scenes content. Much love to you. Thank you so much.